Hey guys, how's it going? I want to do like another simple video today, and I wanted to talk about the game Jak 2. Jak 2 is one of those games within the Jak Injectors community. I feel like it's kind of a split opinion between the people that love the Jak and Daxter series. Now there's some people that only like Jak 2, and there's some people that only like the first Jak and Daxter, but I'm talking about the people that like all three, but they have a split opinion on how they feel about Jak 2. I've noticed with YouTube and forums and a variety of other places, there's a whole lot of people that really feel like Jak 2 is the best in this series because it has the best story, it has a good balance to it as far as gameplay goes. It's not too overdone and it's not too underdone kind of feel to it. But then there's also this other side, other half to it, which is the half I lean more toward, to where they like Jak 2, but they just feel like it's not as good as Jak and Daxter and Jak 3. They feel like those games are a lot better for a variety of reasons. So I'm going to talk about both sides today and talk about some of the reasons why I think they have that opinion about Jak 2. So, and like I said, I can't speak for everybody. Obviously, everybody has their own opinion why they like Jak 2 and why they don't like Jak 2 or whatever. So I'm going to talk about some of these opinions, and at the end of the video, you can leave your opinion why you like it or don't like it as much as one of the other games, and that way we can all kind of be heard on that opinion. But anyway, first I want to talk about some of the people that really love Jak 2 and they consider their favorite in the series. So they may like the first one and they like the third one, but they like the second one the best. And I think there's two main reasons why that is. One, like I said, I can't speak for everybody, but reason number one is because since in Jak 2 they changed, obviously a lot of people know that they changed so much compared to the first Jak and Daxter, that in Jak 2 it started progressing more and more into a modern sized game, because in the late 90s and early 2000s games started becoming a little bit less cutesy and friendly and a little bit more dark and edgy and a little bit more for older audiences. Like I said, not every game was like that, but games did start gearing more toward that way. So Naughty Dog, making the decision, instead of making a whole new series, they decided to take the Jak and Daxter series and just turn a left field, basically. And it worked out very well for them because of the fact that Jak 2 definitely gets a lot of praise. And I definitely don't think they made the wrong decision doing that, because I really love Jak 2, but I feel like there's a couple of things they could have done differently, and I'm going to get to that in the next part of the video. But that's reason number one. I think it's because people, they like platformers, they like collectibles, but that genre was getting kind of old and stale and repetitive at that time. Now we're starting to see some new collectibles and platformers that are starting to kind of branch out a little bit again, and it's starting to get interesting again because developers have come up with new ideas to make that more original and more new. But back then, it was kind of like people were sort of running out of ideas. Naughty Dog did an excellent job with Jak and Daxter, giving it that open world feel, but it still kind of followed that same formula of just collecting the same collectibles just to progress further in the game. So in Jak 2, a lot of people liked that change because it still was a platformer, but it took a more darker tone and a more edgy tone with guns. You know, you could steal vehicles and you could do missions, a lot more edgier missions, and there were a lot more character development, and it wasn't just like a simple little story like most platformers had in that time. So I think that's reason number one. Reason number two is because the story was so much better and so much bigger than the first Jak and Daxter. Even I will agree with that. I love the first Jak and Daxter better than Jak 2, but I will agree Jak 2's story is better than Jak and Daxter, because of the fact that it's so much bigger. There's a lot more character development. Even though most of the characters still are kind of locked into that same type of personality, they do develop some, and it makes the story more interesting as time goes on. Versus the first one where everybody pretty much acts the same way through the whole entire game. So I think those are the two main reasons why the certain people, but like I said, you can let me know in the comment section below why you prefer Jak 2 over the other two games. But now let's get on to the next half of the people, which is the half I lean toward, and they think that the first Jak and Daxter and Jak 3 is better than Jak 2, even though they like Jak 2, and I really do. I love Jak 2, and I appreciate what Naughty Dog was doing with the series. But I feel like the first one and third one is still better, because mostly due to the gameplay. And let me explain myself. The first Jak and Daxter, although simplistic when it came to collecting and stuff like that, the exploration to me was so much more enjoyable than in Jak 2, because there were so many different missions you could do at any time you wanted, and as you opened up more in the game and progressed further, you only opened up more variety of things to do, even though you were still after the same collectible. The exploration and the adventure felt so much bigger to me. Now, Jak 2 definitely is an open world game, but the problem is the gameplay, even though it's open world, it's so restricted because you have to do what the people tell you to do mission-wise, because it's a mission-based game, because you have to go talk to these people, you tell them, they tell you what to do, and then you go do that mission, and then you drive back in the city back to another person or that same person, and then yada yada yada, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth doing these missions. And it makes it feel restricted, even though it feels like open world, but it feels like restricted open world on what you can and can't do. Yes, you can do things in the city, you could get in trouble and fight against Crimson Guards, but I don't feel like that part of the game is that enjoyable, and I think the reason why that is because Naughty Dog made the Crimson Guards a little bit too overpowering in Jak 2, made it to almost like they just only made that just for the purpose of those certain missions that you do in the city, just to make it a lot harder, instead of making it something you could actually do in the city just for fun. So with that, anytime you secured the alarms, the Crimson Guards were so overpowering. But in Jak 3, I felt like they did a lot better balance with it, because in Spargus City, there was no alarms or anything, but you could get in trouble. You could hit somebody and they would shoot at you, and then you could get in a gunfight, a short type of gunfight, and there was a variety of other things you could do. And then but the reason why I still enjoyed Jak 3 better than 2 was mostly because once you get to Haven City and you unlock some of the security walls, and you blow up some of the security walls, and some of the metalheads and KG robots come in, and you can fight against them, and basically there's just like a war within Haven City constantly. There's no alarms going off, and you can fight against them, but they're not so overpowering that it kills the fun out of it, in my opinion, like they did with Jak 2. There's still challenge there, so it's fun, but it's not so overwhelming that it's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, just turn off the alarms and I'll just drive like a normal person because I don't want to get caught and deal with that right now. No, you can, and they made it so where it isn't so overpowering, so if all you wanted to do was just get to the next mission, you could hop in a car and just drive right over them or walk around them. There wasn't really that many spawning as long as you kept moving. If you stayed in one spot, sometimes they spawned a little bit more, but as long as you kept moving, they didn't really spawn too much. So, and I want to talk, at the very end, I want to talk about a very specific part of Jak 3 that I really enjoyed. That was actually one of my favorite gameplay parts of the game. I don't know if anybody remembers the part where the Darkmaker robots, I guess is what they would be, because it's kind of like the dark version of the precursor robots. They start coming towards Spargus City, and it's kind of that boring mission where you have to shoot the gun at them. And you're basically just stuck in one spot doing like a first-person shooter, basically. That mission's not really that fun, but right before you get to that, they start spawning in Spargus City. They start spawning a bunch of smaller Darkmakers, and you can fight against them, and they just keep spawning and keep spawning. So as long as you don't ever do that mission, they just keep coming. You can keep having fun. Just fighting against them. And to me, that was one of the best parts of the game. I really don't know why. It was just a lot of fun to sit there and shoot against them, because the Darkmakers had a lot of different type of abilities than the Metalheads and KG robots did. And I remember one specific part where I decided I kind of got tired of shooting, so I put all my guns away and turned into Dark Jak, and I jumped off this roof in Spargus City, and I jumped into a pile where there was like a bunch of Darkmakers like just spawned all in one area, and I did a dark bomb and just like blew them all away. And I don't know, to me that was so enjoyable. I'll admit I actually spent hours in this part of the game before I even did that mission. Not because the mission was boring, because it's not that I didn't really want to do the mission, it was just I was enjoying myself so much with this specific part of the game that I didn't want it to end. I wanted to keep doing it, so I actually spent a long time before I decided to actually do the mission and progress further, because I had so much fun with it. So that's just my opinion. Like I said, you can put in your opinion in the comment section below why you prefer Jak 2, or why maybe you don't prefer Jak 2 over the other games. But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'll see you in the next video.